Good morning, everyone. So, in this lecture, I'll continue the on the topic continuity. So, in the first lecture, I have given the definition of continuity and seen some examples, which some are continuous and some of them are not continuous. So, here we will see some theorems, and with the help of those theorems, we will see a class of examples which are continuous, and then we'll talk about the discontinuity, type of discontinuous, and one or two theorems. So first we will state some theorems without any proof. The first theorem is, if f maps D to R be a function and C be an isolated point of D, then f is continuous at C. That is, if C is an isolated point, then f is continuous at C. Isolated point means what? This is a point such that there exists a neighborhood which contains only C, no other points. So that is, if the definition is hold for only C, then it's true, and that is obvious. Theorem number 2 is saying, if the functional value of C not equal to 0 and f is continuous at that point C, then there exists a neighborhood such that in that neighborhood fx keeps the same sign as fc. That means what? If fc is greater than 0, then in that neighborhood fx is greater than 0, and if fc is less than 0, then in that neighborhood, particular neighborhood, fx will be negative. So this is also important. Later on I will come to it. So here also, like in the limit, I have stated the theorems related to the limit. The same theorems is hold for continuity also. So the statement is, if f and g are continuous function at a point C, then their sum f plus g is also continuous. If k is real number, then kf is also continuous at C. F dot g is also continuous, and if gx not equal to 0 for all x belongs to D, then f by g is continuous at C. So this is stated that if it is continuous at C, then this happens. Similarly, we can prove that if f and g are continuous in a domain A, then these functions are also continuous in that set A. Because in the definition of continuity of one set is defined by if every point of A if is continuous. So it's obvious. So before I going to the next theorem, I want to say something. The use of this theorem. See, here I have written. Using this theorem, we can prove that every polynomial is continuous. Every rational function is continuous in its domain of definition. What that mean? So, by using this theorem, we can prove this polynomial. Polynomial is what? The polynomial is of the form a0 plus a1x plus a2x plus dot 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 an xn to the power n. So I have to prove this polynomial is continuous. So we know that the constant function is continuous. So if I assume f1x equal to a1, then that is continuous. And this is saying k into f is also continuous. So we know that x is continuous. So k means a1 is a constant, so a1 is also a1x is also continuous, and from theorem now part 3 we can prove that we know that fx equal to x is continuous. So then f dot f, if we take f and g both x, then it is x square. So x square is continuous. So if we multiply with some constant, that is also continuous. So similarly, every function is continuous in that polynomial. A0, a1x, a2, x square, dot dot dot, a n x square. All the functions are continuous. So by the plus this theorem, all the sum of these are also continuous. So any polynomial is continuous on whole R. Similarly, rational function is also continuous. So rational function is what? Rational function is px by qx, where px is also polynomial, qx is polynomial. So we know that every polynomial is continuous. So their division is also continuous when the only condition is gx non-zero. So where gx non-zero, then px by qx, that is all rational function, is also continuous. So this is one things I wanted to mention. So the next theorem is, if f is continuous on D, then their modulus is also continuous on D. But the converse need not be true. How do we prove? This is simple. We have to use this inequality only. Because to prove a function is continuous, we have to prove what? Mod of fx minus fc less than equal to epsilon. So since it is given that fx minus fx is continuous at c, so fx minus epsilon fc less than epsilon for all x satisfying x minus delta, x minus c less than delta. So by this condition, by the given condition, that much we get fx minus fc less than epsilon for that neighborhood. Only thing we have to prove that mod f is also continuous in that. So mod f, so we will take mod of fx minus fc, that is nothing but this. This is nothing but less than epsilon. So this is also continuous. But the converse is not true. Converse is what? If mod f is continuous at c, then f is also continuous. But this is not true. The example here. So if x equal to 1, x belongs to q, and minus 1, x belongs to r minus q. This is the modification of the Dirichlet function. In the Dirichlet function, here it is 0. So we know that this is not continuous everywhere, the same kind of proof. But if we take the modulus, so modulus of fx will be the constant function 1. So we know that constant function is continuous. So modulus of this function is continuous, but this function itself is not continuous. Another thing, this is also important. Let a comma b belong subset R, and f maps a to b, g maps b to R. Two functions such that f is subset b also. Then f is continuous at c and g is continuous at fc. Then their composition g compose f. That is map form again a to c. Oh, c means here we have taken R. So that is also continuous at c. So by this theorem also we can construct as many number of continuous functions, because we know few functions like sin x is continuous and root x is also continuous. If we take their combination, sine of root x, that is also continuous. And root, so any polynomial is continuous, so root over of that function is continuous. So in this way we can get several continuous functions. So these two functions are useful in that way, these theorems, sorry. Now we'll see some discontinuity. So we have seen two functions which are not continuous. In one function I have shown that is not continuous at a point, and another function is not continuous everywhere. So we'll talk about the discontinuity at a point. So there are three types of discontinuity. See, let C be an interior point of interval I, and C is continuous in both the sides AC and CD. AC and CB, this is B, not D. So the continuous, because we have taken the interval as A comma B subset I. So the discontinuity of C can be as follows. In one theorem, we have seen the function f is continuous at c if the limit x tends to c, fx equal to fc. So there may be some cases where this limit exists but not equal to fc, or fc may not be defined. Like if we take that function fx equal to cos upon by x, x not equal to 0. So in that case, 0 at 0 it's not defined. So this is obviously discontinuous, because that again that limit itself does not exist also. So what are the cases can be occur? And another thing we have shown that the limit exists and they are equal. Then only we will say that limit exists. So based on this, we can divide in three cases. So discontinuity of first kind, this two kind of discontinuity are together called discontinuity of first kind. So what is the first thing? Both the limits, left hand limit and right hand limit exist, but and their sum is also their limit is also equal. That means the limit exists, but either of the two cases happen. Fx not equal to fc or f is not even defined. Then that limit is called removable discontinuity. Why it is called removable? Because we can redefine the fc. If it is not defined, we can define it as the limit of this function, and if it is different from that limit, we can redefine the function such a way that the L is equal to that fc. So if we take this example, x sin 1 by x, x not equal to 0, f 0 equal to 1, we know that this limit is 0, but here we have defined 1. So limit of fx as x tends to 0 is not equal to f of 0. So this is removable discontinuity. Another case, what will happen? If this left and right hand side limit exist, but they are not equal, then this kind of discontinuity is called jump discontinuity. Example, so if we take an example like fx equal to 1, x greater than or equal to 0, and fx equal to 0, x less than 0, then this is jump discontinuity, because at 0 point, other point it's continuous, but at the 0 point it's discontinuous, because the right hand limit is 1 and the left hand limit will be 0. One thing is, if this C point is a boundary point, let we are taking this I equal to closed interval AB. So for the left hand point A or B, so for this left hand point A, only right hand limit exists, because there is no other points in the left side except the A. So there is no point of talking about left hand limit. But for the right hand side point, that is B, see we have taken this B. So in the right portion there is no point of this set. So we can talk about only left hand limit. So in that case, for A or B, that particular two cases, we can talk about only one limit. If that is exists, that is the limit of FC, limit of fx. So this, in that case, this case will not appear, because there we can talk about either left limit or right limit. So that is itself a limit of that point at C. So this case will not occur if A or B are boundary point, but in the interior points will come. Discontinuity of second type, at least one of them does not exist. या तो फिर ये या तो फिर exist नहीं करेगा. But there exists a neighborhood of C where f is bounded, but f will be bounded at the moment. This type of discontinuity is called oscillatory discontinuity. Example, x sin 1 by x. We know that as this is sin x is bounded, so in the neighborhood of 0 also it is bounded. And we know that the limit does not exist. even both the limit does not exist. So this is called oscillatory discontinuity. Another is if is unbounded in every neighborhood of C. Since it is unbounded, so that means both of them will not exist, and the function is also not bounded. Example, fx equal to 1 by x. So near 0, if it is plus, so it is likely plus infinity type, or it is negative, then it is minus infinity type. So this is not bounded. So this is called infinite discontinuity. So now we listed some few theorem. D subset R as a function is a limit point of both the sets. Oh, so sorry, this is not a part of this. This is a theorem of the limit only. So ignore it. So this theorem 18 in I don't know some in some year this has come as a question. This is involved a little bit of real analysis. So what it is saying, let I equal to AB be a closed and bounded interval, and a function f from I to R is continuous on I. This is I to R. Then f is bounded. Any continuous function on a bounded interval is bounded. Bounded means what? We have to, f is bounded in AB means there exists a real number m such that mod of fx less than or equal to m for all x belongs to AB. That we have to prove. So only thing is given is f is continuous. So we will use, let's see is an arbitrary point of AB and epsilon greater than 0. So corresponding to this epsilon greater than 0, there exists a delta greater than 0 such that fx minus fc less than epsilon for all x belongs to this interval. But we know this inequality mod of fx minus mod of fc less than or equal to mod of fx minus fc. And this is by this continuity of f at c, this is less than epsilon. That is, if you take this and this, then if you take this fc to this part, so mod of fx less than or equal to fc plus epsilon for all x belongs to this, because this inequality is valid for this x, that's why this inequality is valid for these x only. So see, for and f is given that is continuous in every point, that is every continuous one I, so that is this is continuous on every point. So for each point we will get an interval of this kind for which fx is bounded. Okay? Thus that's how it is written. For every x belongs to AB, there exists an open interval Ix. Ix it is written because this interval is dependent on x. X minus delta x, because delta is also dependent on this x and the epsilon, in which f is bounded. See, in this interval, at least x is there. So if you take union of all these interval, so that will cover the interval AB. Cover means at least actually union of this set contains that set. That means union of x, A is subset of union of these sets, because every x is belongs to corresponding Ix. So we are taking union of all these Ix. So obviously it will be contained in the union of this set. Form N, and these are open sets. So this is called open cover of the AB. But one theorem we know is called Hin-Burrell theorem. It is called every closed and bounded open cover has a finite subcover. That means if this is a cover, we can find finite number of open sets from this set which also cover the same set. That is, this set AB is subset of union of this finite number of Ixi. So we have taken this intervals Ix1, Ix2, Ix. Let's say from this huge number of collection, we will get this x1, x2, xk, k number of sets such that this is subset. This is the meaning of as a finite subcover. So we know that f is bounded in H ix1. So let the bounded by, that will be bounded by some number. So let m1, m2, mn, mk will be the upper boundary. So mod of fx less than equal to mi for all x belongs to. So for ix1, fx is bounded by m1. Similarly, for 2, 3 up to k, fx is less than equal to mk. So if you take m equal to maximum this, because this is finite number, maximum exists. So see, for all x it will be bounded. So then fx equal to less than equal to m for all x belongs to union of this set, intersection of AB obviously. So see, this contain AB and we are taking intersection of that set with the AB. So this is nothing but AB. So that is fx less than equal to m for all x belongs to AB. Hence, what we have seen, the fx is less than equal to m for all x. So this is proof. This is the last example I will show. So before that, we will see and remark, if f maps R to R be continuous on R, whole R, like sin x or cos x kind of thing, then this set S1 all x such that f is greater than 0, S2 fx less than 0. These two sets are open, but if it is fx equal to 0, then this set is closed. So I will use this property to prove this. So this is a question of University. In some year they have asked this. So that if f is continuous in closed interval 0, 1 and vanishes for rational x, then it vanishes everywhere. That means what is saying, f is continuous function and fx is 0 for rational number, all rational number of this 0, 1. Then we have to prove that this fx is actually 0, 1, 0, 1. That is for irrational also this is 0. So let the set S, consider the set X, set of all x such that fx equal to 0. This obviously subset of 0, 1 it will be, because this function is only defined 1, 0, 1. So it must be subset. But from this remark we know that this set is closed. This is closed means the closure is equal to itself, that is S bar equal to S. By the given condition, the S1 obviously subset of S, because at least we know that for the rational number this is 0. So that means that is rational number intersection 0, 1. So all the rational number in between 0 and 1. This is obviously subset of 0, because here we have taken all the real number for which fx is 0. Here all the rational number which is for which it's 0. So this is subset. Implies if you take both the side, the bar, that is closure, then this is be S1 bar. This we have named it as S1. So S1 bar is subset of S bar. S1 bar is 0, 1, because the earlier lecture also I have told that Q is dense in R. That means the closure of that set is whole R. Closure means the in sequential criteria that is defined in the sequence. Like for every set in R, there exists a sequence which converges to R. And S bar is equal to also S. So 0, 1 subset S. So here we have seen that S is subset of 0, 1. Now we are proving 0, 1 subset S. So this set are equal. So that is F is vanishes everywhere. So thank you everyone. So if you have a doubt, you can send me a mail. Thank you.